This is Valley News Live at 10.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Zoe Jones. Congressional leaders have reached a top-line spending agreement that could help avoid a partial government shutdown later this month. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer announced the deal in a letter to their colleagues this afternoon. The agreement establishes an overall spending level of $1.59 trillion in fiscal year 2024. According to Johnson, the breakdown is $886 billion for the military and $704 billion for non-defense spending. President Biden praised the agreement in a statement saying, quote, "The bipartisan funding framework congressional leaders have reached moves us one step closer to preventing a needless government shutdown and protecting important national priorities. Congress will still need to allocate the money, write the bills, and pass them before the January 19th deadline." Back home, we're preparing for a major change in the world of weather. Let's check in with First Alert Storm Team Shelby Ebertowski for a look at our forecast. Shelby?
Well, Zoe, things may look calm right now over in Devil's Lake, but they're still getting some snow over there. And even for your First Alert headlines, we do have more chances for accumulating snow tonight near the Devil's Lake Basin and near that Rolla and Towner County area. But we also have another chance for more accumulating snow on Wednesday with a First Alert weather day on Thursday for our first chance of some Arctic air arriving. Now, like I said, for that satellite and radar, we do have some snow just out near that Minot area, not quite making it into our neck of the woods, but that will continue as we head throughout the next couple hours with our temperatures going to be on the cooler side. We're sitting at -3 in Bemidji, 4 in Grand Forks, 6 here in Fargo. But once again, we do have our wind chill temperatures making it feel much cooler, feeling like 13 down in Oaks, -10 in Grand Forks, Thief River Falls, and up in Langdon. And that's not even the worst of it. We do have that First Alert weather day for that chance for that Arctic blast and that Arctic area to really start to set in, Zoe. We're going to feel much cooler, but I'll have that forecast for you coming up in a few moments.
All right. Thanks, Shelby. A house fire in Otter Tail County on Saturday evening has claimed the lives of 2 pet dogs and made the house a total loss. According to officials on Saturday, January 6th at approximately 7:38 p.m., the Otter Tail County Sheriff's Office was contacted by a homeowner in the 300 block of the 380th Street in Royal Star Lake Township. The homeowners had returned, observed smoke and an orange glow coming from their residence. It was then determined that the residence was on fire. Officials say there were no injuries reported. However, 2 dogs perished in the fire, and the home is believed to be a total loss. The cause of the fire is unknown and is currently under investigation. The city of Fergus Falls announced on social media that the public library closed early on Friday, January 5th, due to a threat that was called in. Fergus Falls Police Chief Kyle Bergen states that the threat was similar to threats that were received by a number of libraries across the state today. There was no credibility to the threat, but because it was near closing time, the library closed early only out of an abundance of caution. The library was also closed yesterday, January 6th, as a precaution, and an investigation is now ongoing. Valley News Live will be sure to share any information as it becomes available. Former President Donald Trump will be spending some time in court this week. Trump is expected to attend closing arguments in his New York civil fraud trial on Thursday. He is accused of a decade-long pattern of inflating property values to get loans for his real estate and golf resort businesses. A number of sources also say Trump plans to attend federal appeals court arguments on presidential immunity in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday. Now, that case centers on accusations that he was part of an insurrection on January 6th of 2021. Altogether, Trump faces 91 criminal charges and 4 criminal cases against him. Trump denies all wrongdoing. This weekend was the 3rd anniversary of the January 6th attack on the Capitol, and former President Donald Trump is again defending the rioters. It comes as all of the major Republican candidates are crisscrossing Iowa ahead of the state's caucuses now that are just over a week away. Garrett Hack is there.
Donald Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election tonight shaking up the 2024 race to the White House on the 3rd anniversary of the January 6th attack on the Capitol.
It's going to be really a tremendous victory in Iowa.
The former president embracing and downplaying the deadly day's events.
I said peacefully and patriotically. The whole thing is just very unfair. But those J6 hostages going to jail for 20 years? They went there to protest a rigged election.
A view echoed by many of Mr. Trump's supporters.
You don't have an insurrection that lasts only 2-3 hours. That's not an insurrection.
Come on, man, open the door.
But the legal fallout from that day continues, with this new video of rioters confronting Republican congressmen through the House chamber door, as a Capitol Police officer points his gun back at the rioters through the broken door.
You guys are not going to lose a paycheck if we come in the building, man.
The video released Friday as part of an ongoing criminal case. Nearly 1,300 people have been charged with crimes related to the attack. And this morning, the FBI arrested 3 fugitives at a ranch in Florida, wanted for assaulting police officers. Mr. Trump faces his own legal challenges tied to the 6th. In February, the Supreme Court will hear the case of whether Mr. Trump can be banned from state ballots under the 14th Amendment for engaging in insurrection.
I just hope that they're going to be fair.
All-out war is what Trump wants.
President Biden on Friday laying into his predecessor for his refusal to accept the 2020 election results.
It was among the worst derelictions of duty by a president in American history.
Mr. Trump's rivals for the GOP nomination, who trail him badly in Iowa polls, looking to strike a balance between criticizing him and not alienating the movement of voters he leads.
My concern with Donald Trump being the nominee is the entire campaign will be subsumed with legal issues, criminal trials, and January 6th.
I think President Trump was the right president at the right time. I agree with a lot of his policies. Chaos follows him.
Switching gears across the sea, today marks 3 months since Hamas attacked Israel, killing 1,200 Israelis. It was on October 7, 2023, that the militant group Hamas launched a surprise attack on southern Israel. Following that attack, Israel launched an extensive aerial bombardment of the Gaza Strip and ground invasion. Israel's prime minister has vowed to eliminate Hamas as the conflict continues. According to the health ministry, the death toll in Gaza has climbed to more than 22,000 today. The astonishing mid-air scare is raising urgent questions across the aviation industry. And while a full investigation could take months, we're getting a few early details about what might have caused what Alaska Airlines calls an emergency. Jesse Kirsch tells us more.
Hours into the investigation of that gaping hole aboard the Alaska Airlines flight, tonight one expert says early signs point to a possible manufacturing issue.
This airplane was about 2 months old, and that was it, and had about less than 150 flights on it.
Former NTSB and FAA official Jeff Gazzetti says this Boeing 737 MAX 9 was modified, requiring fewer emergency exits because it had fewer passenger seats. That missing section was a covered door.
It was deactivated and then paneled over. So it's something that Alaska Airlines maintenance folks wouldn't normally be touching.
All of a sudden I heard like a big bang.
Gazzetti believes the scary scene was caused by cabin pressure pushing out on increasingly thin air as the plane climbed.
That happened really at a lower altitude than I would expect, which kind of tells me that that door was really not doing its job in keeping the pressure inside of the fuselage.
Cabin depressurization can turn deadly. In 2018, this Southwest flight experienced an uncontained engine failure, sending parts into the fuselage, destroying a window. A woman was partially sucked out and died. Following this latest Alaska Airlines incident, NTSB investigators will scrutinize the production process, aircraft maintenance, and crew response.
Should people be worried about other Boeing models that they're flying on that are recently produced models?
No, I don't think so. Based on what we know now, this does appear to be a isolated event involving one specific type of aircraft.
Tonight, dozens of those airplanes getting a closer look. Jesse Kirsch, NBC News.
To stay in the know with all the news that you need, be sure to download the VNL News app. You can get push alerts, updates to stories, and more. You can download and use it for free. Just search VNL News in the App Store today. Back home, women's professional hockey is off to a record-breaking start in Minnesota. More than 13,000 fans packed into the Xcel Energy Center for today's game between Minnesota and Montreal. That's the most to attend a professional women's hockey game ever. Fans were seen gearing up for the game at Tom Reed's Hockey City Pub right next door. One of those fans said that she is actually a former member of the Gophers hockey team who has big hopes for women's hockey in the state.
I hope they make as much money as the men. I hope they have futures. I hope they get to pursue their dreams equally with the guys.
We have this lovely picture taken of those light pillars in Warren, Minnesota that happen after we have that winter air and that liquid atmosphere in the air that interacts with the lights. But coming up, we do have that chance for that first alert weather day and more snow arriving later this week. And I'll have that full track and timing of both that snow and that first alert weather day for you coming up in just a few moments.